The winter sun glowed softly over the busy daytime market, but nothing in the cheerful bustle prepared Aaron for the moment that would freeze him in place and shift something deep inside him. It happened when his 7-year-old daughter, Maren, tugged his coat sharply and pointed at the far end of the street where the crowd had unknowingly parted. There, sitting beside a lamppost with a torn shawl wrapped around her oversized frame, was a trembling, obese widow named Mrs. Halden. Her eyes stayed fixed on the ground as people passed her without a glance, carrying gifts, groceries, and warm laughter that somehow made her sadness even louder. And then Maren whispered the words that cracked Aaron's chest wide open, "Daddy, can we bring her home for Christmas?" If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us the world still has good people, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Soul. Aaron had always tried to raise Maren with gentleness, ever since losing his wife to illness 2 winters earlier. But he never imagined his child would see things adults had forgotten how to see, the invisible pain in strangers. As he watched Mrs. Halden sitting motionless despite the cold biting at her fingers, guilt crawled up his spine. He had walked past people like her many times, letting life's burdens numb his compassion. Maren's eyes, wide and shining with innocence, challenged him in a way no sermon or book ever could. He hesitated, torn between practicality and compassion. They barely managed their own expenses, his job as a delivery van driver never left much. Yet something about the widow felt strangely familiar to him, a reflection of the same loneliness he battled quietly every night after putting Maren to bed. Maybe that was why his daughter noticed her. Children always sensed what adults hid. He approached slowly, unsure what to say. The widow lifted her head just a little, revealing red cheeks, exhausted eyes, and the fragile dignity of someone who never expected kindness. The sun hit her face and for a second she looked frightened, like someone bracing for judgment. Aaron cleared his throat and gently asked if she needed help. She blinked in surprise, then tried to smile, though her voice came out rough as she explained she had nowhere else to go. Her husband had died 6 months earlier, her home was lost to unpaid bills, and she had been drifting from place to place, hoping someone would stop long enough to notice she was still alive. Hearing her story made Aaron feel as though the ground had shifted beneath him. It wasn't that her suffering was unique, many people carried heavy burdens, but the quiet, resigned way she spoke pierced him. Maren stepped closer, sliding her small gloved hand into the widow's shaking palm. That one gesture, small and pure, undid years of hardened silence around the woman's heart. Tears slipped down her cheeks freely now. Aaron didn't have the perfect solution. He didn't have money, resources, or grand promises. But he had warmth. He had a home that, while modest, still echoed with the ghost of laughter. And he had a daughter who believed no one should spend Christmas alone. So he made a choice, not from convenience, but from courage. He invited Mrs. Halden to spend the daytime Christmas Eve with them, at least for a warm meal and a bit of company. She hesitated, overwhelmed, then nodded as if accepting the first gift she had received in years. Their walk home felt surreal. Maren chattered excitedly, describing how they would prepare cookies, decorate the tiny tree, and maybe even play board games. The widow listened, her steps slow, her breathing heavy, yet her eyes brighter than before. When they reached the small apartment, Aaron worried she might feel embarrassed or out of place, but Maren welcomed her as though she had been part of their family forever. Inside, everything changed with the gentlest touches. As sunlight poured through the windows, Mrs. Halden helped Maren mix dough for cookies, her hands trembling at first, then steadying with every stir. Aaron watched them from the kitchen doorway, something warm and unfamiliar blooming in his chest. They laughed. They shared stories. They created a moment that felt like healing, for all 3 of them. In that sunlight-filled room, Aaron realized Christmas wasn't about perfection, nor wealth, nor beautifully wrapped gifts. It was about the courage to open the door for someone who had been left out in the cold too long. And as he watched the widow smile, really smile, for the first time, he sensed his late wife would have been proud of him, proud of Maren, proud of this fragile but profound act of human kindness. When they finally sat together for lunch, Maren insisted on holding hands for a prayer. Mrs. Halden's voice broke as she whispered her gratitude, not just for the food but for being seen. For being remembered. For being invited back into a world she thought had forgotten her. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Soul. Your engagement helps kindness travel further than you can imagine. Special request, before you leave, comment one line of kindness you believe the world needs today. And with that, the story ends with a warm reminder that sometimes the smallest gesture, a child's question, a father's hesitant yes, can change someone's entire Christmas, and maybe even their entire life.